So welcome everyone this evening to join us for our family history webinar. It's great to see so many of you already joining and great to get involved and get some information before obviously classes kick off in the future as well. Before we get going, just a quick viewer advice: Australian and or Aboriginal and or Torres Strait Islander viewers should be aware that this presentation may contain images of people who have passed away. And then also I'd like to do a acknowledgement of country. So in the spirit of reconciliation, the University of Tasmania respectively acknowledges the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea and community. The university also recognises the Aboriginal history and culture of the land and acknowledges and pays respects to the traditional owners, to elders past, present and emerging in the land in each location that we are in locations that we are remotely as well today. So thanks everyone for joining. So quickly just going through the agenda that we're going to go through today. We'll go through some quick welcome and introductions of who's going to be speaking today, and then also jump straight into the information around family history and what we offer at the University of Tasmania. We're also joined as well by a student who's done the course as well, so you'll be able to get a great student perspective and understand what it's actually like to study. And then we'll go through some next steps on how to apply, how to enroll, and hopefully a few tips as well to be able to set you up for success as we get going. So on to introductions. So my name is Ben Gillam. I am part of the Future Students team here, so hosting the session for you today. And we're joined with us today by Neville Jones, who is our student that's joining. So thank you for coming along, Neville. And then we've also got Dr. Carla Pascoe Leahy, who is the lecturer within our family history course there. So obviously a wealth of knowledge where Carla's going to be able to share that as we go through. So firstly, before we dive into the content, just a bit of context around University of Tasmania for anyone who hasn't heard much about us or have obviously got some great information as well. University of Tasmania has been around for a while, so we are the 4th oldest university. And I think the great thing about that is knowing that you are in great hands. We are obviously specialists within the education area. We have got a really large focus as well around our research active university base as well, which is really good to know that you are absolutely going to be in great hands when you do this course. Whether you have experiences on campus in the future and obviously doing family history online, you'll have a great experience where you'll have a strong connection to the university and sort of what we stand for as well. But a good thing to know is our purpose, which is overall trying to make the world a better place, and hopefully the content you learn today and the future in your study will be able to cement that in the future as well. So I will hand over to Carla, who will get things started. Thanks so much, Carla.
Thank you, Ben. It's really lovely to be here with all of you this evening in Zoom land and to have so many people joining us tonight. So as Ben said, my name's Carla and I'm a historian who specialises in motherhood, childhood and family, and I teach in the family history program at the University of Tasmania. And I live and work on Wadawurrung country on the Victorian coastline. So we have experts from all over the country contributing to teaching in our family history course. So I'm going to tell you just a little bit about how we run the family history program at the University of Tasmania, and then you'll have an opportunity later on to ask any more follow-up questions that you might have. The key principle behind the program is that you can study flexibly. That's really the main thing behind how it's been designed. So the family history program is fully online, which means that students can study flexibly at their own pace around any other commitments that you might have in your life. You have the option of either studying full-time or part-time, depending on how much capacity you have in your life, and you can vary that at different points if your circumstances change as well. So the way that we structure our teaching across the year is there's 4 terms per year, and they roughly mirror school terms. So at the moment, we're right at the end of term 2, for example, which is the same as my kids in primary school are right at the end of their term 2. And the terms start in February, April, July and October. So most of our students choose to take either 1 or 2 subjects per term, or we often call them units, and each unit runs for about 8 weeks. And then there's a little 2-week or so break between them. So if you were keen to start studying soon, Our term 3 starts on the 24th of July, for example. And this year we've implemented a change. So in the past, you could only study the Diploma of Family History, which means taking 8 units in order to earn that full diploma. But now we've got another option, which is the undergraduate certificate, and where you can study 4 units. So it depends a little bit on how much you want to learn, how much time you have, and how enthused you're feeling. So the undergraduate certificate's just been introduced this year, and it means that students can study any 4 units from what we have on offer. So you could do 4 only history units, you could do 4 writing and creative arts units, or a mixture. And there's still a bit of flexibility built into it. So for example, you might choose to enroll in an undergraduate certificate, complete 4 units, and then decide you want to keep going and do the full diploma. So you can shift into the diploma. Or alternatively, you might enroll in the diploma and decide, well, actually, my circumstances have changed and I don't have time to do the whole thing. And then you can graduate after 4 units with the undergraduate certificate. So we've tried to really retain the flexibility that's always characterised our program. So as I said, it's a fully online course. And the idea behind this is wherever you are in Australia, as long as you have internet access, you can study with us. Most of the teaching is asynchronous, and what that means is it's not live. It means that you can study at your own pace when you have time around your lifestyle. We also offer some optional live sessions, but they're not compulsory to complete the units. And the other thing that we really aim for is to make sure that our courses are accessible to anyone, no matter what level of prior study experience they have. So some of our students have already studied at a university or TAFE in the past, but many of them also haven't. So there's no expectation of prior tertiary education. And then I guess one of the other just exciting perks that you have of studying is that you get free access to some of the main databases used by family historians, like Ancestry, which can be pretty expensive to access yourself without institutional subscription. Now, this map just gives you a little bit of a sense of where our students come from. And I guess at a glance, it shows you that they really do come from all over the country. We have more students in the more populated states, but we have students from every state in Australia and from urban, rural and regional areas. So these are the kind of things that you'll learn if you decide to do a diploma or undergraduate certificate with us. One of our main focuses is research. So you'll learn how to do research using historical sources that can be accessed online. And they're usually sources from archives, libraries, museums, these kinds of places, but also the kinds of sources that you may have in your own private family collection or the collections of other members of your extended family. But it's not just about finding things, it's also about how you can organise them in a way that you can get access to the different pieces of information quickly when you need it, and also in a way that preserves your private family history information so that it can be passed down in the family as well. So once you've got your research and you've organised it, we then talk about how you can create something out of that. So you can create family histories that can communicate what you've learnt to other people, whether that's in a written format or an oral history format, an interview-based format, that kind of thing. And then the fourth point here is really about, I suppose, the standard that we try to teach you, that how important it is to be careful about accuracy and double checking everything that you find in your research, but also really interesting questions around ethics and what do you do, for example, if you find difficult or traumatic or sensitive information in your family history, how can you navigate that? And across everything we teach is, I guess, a focus on digital tools and technologies, that we're really lucky to live in an era in which we can access literally millions of documents and other things around the world. So we teach you how to navigate that mass of information. So these are the units of study that we offer at the moment. We recommend that students start with the foundation level units and then the introductory units come after that, but we don't mandate that to give you some flexibility. And as I said earlier, most students study either 1 or 2 subjects per term. So we recommend starting with Introduction to Family History, which is run in both term 1 and term 3 every year. And the other subjects are run just once a year. So writing family history and writing the family saga are more about writing. Place image object is more about material things. We look at convicts, we look at war, we look at oral history, and we look at migrant families, because obviously many of our families in Australia have some form of migration in their history. So I just want to give you a taste of some of the units that we run, particularly the ones that will be available in term 3 this year. So as I mentioned earlier, Introduction to Family History is really designed to be a great entry point into either the diploma or the undergraduate certificate. There's absolutely no assumed knowledge in this subject. And so we step you through all the things that you need to know to be a competent family historian, while providing opportunities to, I guess, push yourself a bit further if you're already coming with a good background of knowledge. So we start off by taking you through very methodically how you would identify a family history challenge or question, how you would plan out your research, conduct that research, check and triangulate your evidence, compose it into a narrative, add references so that other historians can check the accuracy of your work, and then communicate it in a sort of careful and well presented package at the end of that. Writing the family history is a really interesting subject that recognises that sometimes one of the most important things about being a good family historian is communicating the wonderful things you find to other people in a way that's going to engage and excite them. So this subject is taught by people in our area of literature and creative writing, so people that are experts in crafting beautiful narratives. And you can choose to kind of engage in a strictly non-fictional way, like a strictly historical and accurate way. There's also opportunities to slightly fictionalize your story if you're interested in that kind of style of writing. And so the hope is that this would teach you how to communicate the things you find in ways that are going to make other family members really excited, not yawning, but really wanting to engage and be as excited about your research as you are. Families and War is also running in term 3. And this subject recognises that many families will have had at least one member who served in a war. So we focus particularly on Australian and British soldiers' experiences during the First World War. And we take advantage of the fact that we have pretty amazing military service records available to us here in Australia through various sources, but particularly the Australian War Memorial. So for those of us that do have an ancestor who has served in the military forces, is an opportunity through taking this unit to really learn a lot more about them and that particular point in their lives. So as I said earlier, there's a real focus on digital skills in both the diploma and the undergraduate certificate. We're trying to capitalise on what's available to us in the 21st century. Even 30 years ago, certainly 40 years ago, most family history research involved substantial travel to archives, potentially around the country and potentially overseas. So it wasn't accessible to everyone. Now, all you need is a computer and an internet connection, and you can find information all over the world. So our aim is to give you the tools to really make the most of that. So part of what we do is looking at cultural collections like libraries and archives. It's taking advantage of online genealogical websites and software. and it's looking at things that have been digitised and shared by other historians as well. So the basic way that our online subjects are organised is we've got a platform called Milo, which is our learning management system. And so you log into Milo through the internet, and then you access each of your subjects that way, and all of your learning materials will be presented within the unit site for your subject. So you'll have video lectures there from experts at the University of Tasmania and elsewhere, accompanied by transcripts. There'll be discussion boards where a question will be posed and you answer that question and interact with other students in relation to how they've answered the question, and kind of have online discussions that way. There's readings, and some of them are quite sort of academic books and articles. Some of them might be newspaper articles or blog posts, these kinds of things. There's different activities that you can do within each of the modules in the subject that are all online. There's quizzes that you can do that'll kind of like test and refresh your knowledge. And then most of the subjects have one kind of substantial piece of assessment. So for example, in Introduction to Family History, it's that you set yourself this research challenge and you work your way through it. In Convict Ancestors that I'm coordinating at the moment, we ask you to select a convict, research their life story, and then write it up into a kind of mini biography. So that's sort of a basic overview of what each of the units will look like. Obviously, you also have access to the vast resources of the UTAS library. So that includes things like Ancestry, it includes British Library newspapers, and the kind of history books and journals that are really expensive to access as an individual, but really help you to find both archival records, but also that kind of wider contextual information that helps you to understand the life and times of your ancestors. We really try to create a community of historians, so that and there's a number of ways you can do that online. One of them is through the discussion boards within each unit. There's also a common room that cuts across all of the family history subjects. So students from all of the subjects can converse in that online common room. And often it's a place where questions are asked and answered, and there's a lot of kind of peer-to-peer learning. There's, as I said earlier, there are optional live sessions where you get to see people in real time, like we're doing now, but in a kind of a little online meeting space. And then there's a lot of things that the students have set up themselves because they're so passionate. So we have student-run Facebook groups. Sometimes students decide to get together locally, like there might be a little area that live down, you know, on the Geelong and Surf Coast region in Victoria, for example, and they might decide that they want to get together and have a study session. So we try to make sure there's lots of different ways to feel like you're part of a community of family historians. If at the end of your diploma, you decide that you want to keep studying, there's options to transition into other courses as well if you'd like. So you can do a Diploma of Arts, which is the equivalent of 1 year full-time, or you can study part-time. Or you could go into a Bachelor of Arts, which is an undergraduate degree, the equivalent of 3 years full-time. So we've had quite a number of students that have become so enthused and inspired by studying family history that they want to continue, you know, to sort of stretch themselves and learn more. That's not at all something that you have to decide at the start when you're signing up, but it's just nice to know that there's an option there if you want to keep learning. Now, you've heard plenty from me for the moment, so I'm going to hand over to Neville Johns, one of our diploma students, to tell you about I guess studying from a student's perspective and how he found it. Thanks, Neville.
Okay, thank you. First of all, I live in Darwin, so I'm living here on Larrakia country. So I'm an example of how you can be anywhere in Australia and undertake the family history course. I had done some tertiary study, that was nearly 40 years ago. I never completed it. So I came back into this course as a rank a beginner, as probably many people are. And so don't be afraid of it. You can get through it. I've done this this session a couple of times now, and one of the questions I was asked to expound on was, what did I wish I knew before I started? Well, I thought I knew about referencing, but this proved to be a real challenge. Referencing, citations, and the bibliography are time-consuming elements of your essays. So my advice to you is work out a plan, how to do it, and record all your sources and your research as you go, because trying to catch up at the end and fill in all those footnotes at the end of your essay will lead you into trouble. Secondly is that what I observed was many students asking quite simple questions of the lecturers about scheduled dates and how to do something and what format. All of these instructions are given to you right up front. You have all of the ammunition you need to undertake your course. So make sure you read all of that material and absorb it. But as I said about references, there's no set way to do it. Just work out a methodology of how you can do it for yourself. I was once asked what was the most interesting part of the course. Well, the tried answer would have been to say all of it. Now, today you guys do a unit called Family Photo Essay. When I did it was actually called the I've forgotten now. Anyway, it was just called the photo essay. That's right. And I thought it was going to be up my alley because I was a bit of a blogger, and I thought I'd learn something. As it turned out, I didn't do very well in the subject. I got through, of course, and I didn't enjoy it, which was a real surprise. But I am told that the replacement by family photo essay is a much more targeted unit. Also, the unit I did was Convicts in Context, which was the most rigorous in academic terms of all of the units. But I'm sure that Carla and others have really beefed up the existing convict ancestors. I might say is that if you have a convict ancestor, and I have 3 of them plus 4 other transported relatives, you think you might know a lot about them, but I can guarantee that you will learn a lot more through this course. Incidentally, it's obvious I'm descended from a line of crooks. Writing family history was something that I really enjoyed. I don't regard myself in any way as creative, but I did have an ambition to be able to write more interesting family history. So in that course, I came across the concepts of creative nonfiction. So I really enjoyed that, and I think that really, really helped me. Above all, my motivation for doing the family history diploma was to try and become a better researcher and more disciplined. Well, I think I'm a better researcher, but to be more disciplined requires something inside yourself. It can't be taught to you, and that's a constant struggle to stay disciplined. I've had several articles published in small genealogical society magazines, including one overseas. So I think you think about what we might do going on from this course. Well, do I have a book of me? Yes, I hope so. But what I'm going to do at my time in life is I'm going to undertake the thesis course through the Society of Australian Genealogists. Now, interestingly, to get there, I had to repeat a certificate of family fundamentals, and I've just completed the certificate course in genealogical research. So I'm looking forward to that. What is it I'm going to do? I'm not sure. I am connected to a Chinese family, so there's a lot there. One of the things I did, I had a long-term research project on my own ancestor, who was in both World War I, World War II, and amazing aviation adventures between the wars. So even though I'd done that, the course enabled me in the Family at Wars unit to expand on my research then. And since then, at the SAG course, I'm able to go another level as well. So that's developing nicely. Finally, as a family historian, you might pick up on the shirt, I run the Northern Territory Chinese Museum in Darwin. And that's all about family history. So I'm now working on, unpaid of course, on family history every day, all day. So I'm really into the mould, and everything that I've learnt in the family history diploma course aids me in my everyday activities associated with that organisation. So go forth and enjoy.
Great. Thank you so much, Neville. That's brilliant insight, and great to hear as well that obviously doing the diploma can lead to so many different things, whether that's further study options, different career options as well, and volunteer work too. So that's great insight. Thanks, Neville. So looking at a few next steps now. So if you are looking at applying to our next submission, it's quite simple, just going through direct on our website if you are looking to apply through utas.edu.au and following the prompts. If you do have any issues when you are applying, you can contact us directly and call or book in a session where you need some assistance there. Through the website as well, that's where you will receive your offer. You'll get notified via email, and then going through and accepting as well is your next steps as well. On top of that, if you do get an offer and accept that, you have the next option there to enroll into your units. As Carla mentioned before, it is flexible in terms of the units you can choose, and you'll be able to work out based on sort of what's happening in your life, whether you can pick up 1 or 2 units. But if you are unsure, always chat directly with us, chat with the team and understand what that workload might look like. If you've got any questions, you can reach out to us and see how that works, and we can help plan those units for you as well if you do need assistance in that space. But it's done through a portal where you'll get access to. You can put all your units there, and it's also got key information as well around your personal details and fees as well. But we've got some great enrolment guides online, as well as some video and some live sessions that help happen as well online if you need assistance in that space. So mentioned before as well, you will then have access to the student portal as a current student. This will have essentially everything you need to be successful in your course. So as mentioned, you'll have resource within your course. All access to the systems will be done through here, and guides on how to do that as well. There'll be also reminders, news events, everything to keep you on track with what's happening. But as Neville mentioned before, you also need to make sure you understand what's ahead of you as well, and being on top of what is needed for each unit, and making sure you know what you need to be successful in that unit too. But we're here to help. So if there are any issues you have, or any concerns, any questions, just reach out directly through the process of even applying and enrolling. Or once you're in the course as well, reach out to your teaching staff, because they are there to help you every step of the way that you need, because we want to make sure you're successful in your course and you enjoy it all the way through at the same time. So just a few steps here that we want to wrap up on. And before I finish this slide here, just want to mention again, if you do have any questions, we do have the Q&A chat function. So you pop in your questions that you've got, and we'll answer them towards the end as well. And hopefully we'll be able to go through as many questions that you got and answer those. But in terms of steps to success, as mentioned before by Neville and myself, just make sure you do spend some time to familiarise yourself with our uni systems. Even if you have studied before, at UTAS even, it's always good just to take that extra step in time to understand what systems we're using. They do change from time to time. And if you've got any issues there, just reach out for help when you're doing that. Before you kick off your units, have a look what's ahead of you in terms of the units and what you will be learning and studying, and try and get as organised as possible based around that. And that might also include what's happening outside of your study too. So it might be work commitments, family commitments, but definitely have a look through that and see how you can manage that around it. And that also flows into managing your time well around that as on top of that too. In terms of studying, it's always good to plan out some time and dedicate a specific time to your actual study as well. Sometimes it can get lost in your week when it gets busy, but if you lock in some time during your week, let's just say Sunday mornings work best for you, or maybe in the evenings during the week, make sure you dedicate that time that you put aside to study, and keep that as part of your schedule too, because that's the best way to keep successful, is to make sure you've got that time in part of your routine as well. At the same time, if you're finding that life might be a little bit busy, and you're doing something like 2 units, you need to drop down, we're super flexible in doing so if you need to reduce the load of your course based on what's happening. So make sure you are looking after your well-being as you go through. And then on top of that, when you are doing your course, utilize the great community that's built within the family history community there. So as mentioned, there's some great discussion boards, there's some live options that you can join in as well. So utilize that as much as you can and really utilize those networks that are being created there. Because not only will you learn some great content, but you'll be able to learn from some people that are doing the courses of their own experiences too, and bounce that off each other as well. So it's great to get involved as much as you want. And then, as I mentioned before, just reach out and ask for anyone at university if you've got any questions, and reach out for the help you need. Because if you sit in silence, then we obviously don't know where we can support. So please don't be afraid to touch base with us, and we're happy to guide you in any way we can as well. So we might go into a Q&A session now. So as I mentioned, pop in any questions you do have, and we can sort of work our way through any that are coming through. But Carla, I might hand one over to you first that we've got here from Devon. So Devon has just mentioned here that he does have a little bit of background in terms of the research side in 1 or 2 countries in the past. Just understanding if this course will go through Australian history only or have more of a broad coverage as well.
Yeah, thanks for the great question, Devon. And I guess this probably relates a little bit to what Robin's asked as well, which is when we talk about British resources, are we also talking about Celtic resources such as Scottish, Irish, Cornish, etc.? So the focus of our units is on the genealogical contexts that are most relevant to our students. And so I would say a lot of the skills that we teach are about doing family history research in Australia, and to a lesser extent in the countries that many Australians have migrated from. So we teach a lot about accessing the resources that are available through Australian institutions, and also a lot about the broader UK context. So whether that's England, Scotland, Ireland, Wales, and all of the sorts of research you can do in the institutions over there. So it's both the skills that you need to understand how those archives work and how to access information within them. That's one thing. So that's what we call primary research, accessing specific records about specific people. But the other thing that we try to teach you is secondary research and how to access secondary sources. And that means accessing information that enables you to put an individual's life story into a broader context. So for example, in the Families in War unit, we won't just teach you how to access military records. We'll help you understand the broader social history of the major wars that Australia has been involved in. So then you can understand, okay, if my ancestors' military record says this is the context of the war that they were in. These are the types of experiences that they might have been having. And similarly with convict ancestors, we're not just teaching you how to find a certificate of freedom for a particular convict, though that's really important. We're teaching you how to understand, for example, what was it like living in Van Diemen's Land in the 1850s? What was it like being a convict on a hulk before transportation? So it's both that primary research focus and also that secondary research focus, which is what is why we're so lucky at UTAS to have so many historians that are experts in these areas that can provide input into our units.
Great, thanks for that, Carla. We've got a few questions that have come through just around fees and how that works, and also the enrolment side. So I might just quickly touch on that before we move on to other areas. So depending on your eligibility, so if you are an Australian citizen, you will be eligible for a Commonwealth supported place, and then also available to put your units on your HEX. So essentially how that works with your HEX units, once you put your units on there, you will pay that back once you're earning, I believe it's around $45,000 per annum. That's when that will start getting paid off. In terms of your units, you'll pay that each semester. And when you start, there will be what's called a census date within your unit. So generally is roughly the first 3 weeks you've got until census date. And what that means is once you pass that census date, that's when you pay your fees. But if you withdraw before then, you don't pay any fees as well. So depending on what your situation is, you'll have a certain fee structure. But just through our website, you'll be able to click on the links in the fees and understand what your fees will look like. But as I mentioned, if you're Australian citizen, you'll be eligible for Commonwealth supported place plus HECS as well. So I might move on and pass another question over to you, Carla. So we've got Julie and a couple more questions have come through here. Can you study 3 subjects in a semester?
Thanks, Julie. That's a great question. We wouldn't recommend it. I think that you would feel a bit overloaded if you tried to study 3 subjects in a semester. So we consider a full-time load in either the undergraduate certificate or the diploma to be studying 2 subjects. So yeah, that would be our recommendation.
Great, thank you for that. And then looking at our next one here, so Robin's just passed through a question that's talking about the bachelor degree. So if they want to go on and do the Bachelor in Arts, doing the Diploma in Family History, will that offer a concession? So obviously credit as well for doing the Family History Diploma.
You won't get specific credits in the sense of needing to study less subjects in the BA. But it can help to expedite your entry into the BA in that you've already been enrolled at the University of Tasmania. You already have a history of study and your results and everything recorded with us. And I would say that in the sort of less tangible sense, you'll be able to put your best foot forward because we'll have taught you all of the core skills that you would need to then, for example, go on and study history undergraduate subjects. You'd be really well prepared for that.
Great, thank you for that. I've got one that's come through from Leanne here. So after starting the family history course, but then need to take some time out, are you able to defer the course?
Yeah, that's a great question, Leanne. And it also relates a bit to what Arlene's asking, which is, she said, term 3 starts on the 24th of July. What if you're traveling on those dates? Can the course be accessed a few days later? The short answer is we try to be as flexible as possible. That's really, in some ways, the point of these family history courses. So we encourage students to get in touch with their lecturers and talk about what options are available. So I know for myself, for example, when students have had to start a subject a little bit late, I can give them an extension on the first couple of quizzes if they're going to be a week or 2 late into the course. But I'll probably have an email conversation with them first to make sure that they feel that they can catch up, that they understand what's involved and they feel that they'll have enough time to catch up. Similarly, it's very common, as it is in everyone's life, that unpredictable things happen and students get in touch to say that they suddenly have to go into hospital or they suddenly have to mind grandchildren or something else has come up. And so depends on your circumstances. Sometimes we'll talk about negotiating an extension to your final assignment if you feel that's feasible in your circumstances. So you'll still complete the unit in that term, but it'll just take a little bit longer. If it doesn't feel like a good idea for you at that time, then it's possible to withdraw from the unit and take it at another date. But as I said, we really do try to be very flexible and accommodating because we understand that people's circumstances change.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for that. That's great insight. Just having a look as well, we've got another question here. So there's just a few more questions around HECS help. So as I mentioned, you might be eligible for HECS and how it works. It is a government initiative. So what I've done is I've just popped a link in the chat for anyone that is interested. And that just guides you to a study assist website through the government. So it's got a bit more information on how it works. But we can assist you when you are enrolling on making sure you've got that form filled out and ticked off as well, and sort of how that works at the same time as well. So we've got another question that's come through here. So Leanne has just popped in. It says, other than expanding on my own research skills, are there jobs available after completing the diploma?
Yeah, that's a great question, Leanne. So we find that most of our students come to the diploma or undergraduate certificate because they want to study their own family history. So the majority of our students come to it for personal interest and to do their own family history research. have a sizable minority that are doing it for professional reasons. So some of them want to become, for example, professional genealogists, or to specialise as a librarian that focuses on local history and family history. And we also have some people who are already librarians who do the undergraduate certificate or diploma as a kind of professional development thing for themselves as well. So there is definitely a significant minority that that use it in that kind of way. Ben, I wonder if Neville might like to answer the question that Kerry asked about how many hours a week should be set aside for studying one unit.
Absolutely.
I don't think there's a fixed time, but I mean, I just found it so interesting. I'd put as much time as I possibly could into it. Impartial answer, because I notice people asking, can you do more than one subject at a time? Well, as a person that's, you know, living at home, have all the other responsibilities, and was also trying at the time to earn a living, I only did one subject, although at one period I did 2 units crossed over, and I found it difficult. I found it difficult in a part-time work from home sense to handle 2 subjects, but I did it. But I guess you probably have to get around 5 hours a week. And another thing I would say also is that, which adds to your workload, I suppose, is that a lot of the readings you get, they're optional, but I would encourage you to actually read them if you can. And in fact, part of the art of being a historian is to keep on reading widely. So I guess you'd need one really solid period per week to a couple of hours, and you know, an hour or so any other day that you can fit it in.
Right, that's brilliant. Carla, did you want to add at all to any of that?
I would agree with Neville that probably the minimum might be 4 hours a week consistently over the unit, but then you could equally spend 8 hours a week if you were following all the links and doing all of the reading, including the optional reading. So it's partly about how much time, energy and enthusiasm that you have at a given point in time. And then towards the end of each term, when you have the major assignment due, you might find that you need to spend a little bit more time working on that. So you might, it might be 2 days a week, for example, for a couple of weeks to finish your assignment. But then it depends upon the person's enthusiasm and interest as well. I mean, for some people with very busy lives, passing is enough, and that's fine. And there's it will take a certain number of hours to pass. And then for other people, they really want to do the best that they absolutely can, and it'll take more hours to achieve that kind of result.
Great, thank you. We've also got Sylvia here that's mentioned they're looking to do writing, I think it's writing family history, looking to do just the one subject. Do you know if that's possible at all?
It's not if you're enrolling in the undergraduate certificate or the Diploma of Family History. There is another option through Open University to study one subject at a time with us, but that wouldn't it wouldn't give you the certificate or the diploma from UTAS. It would just give you the kind of knowledge and information from that one unit.
Great, thank you. We've got Darren who's passed on a question here. Does this course touch on using DNA for family researching at all?
So we talk about DNA a bit in the introduction to family history subject, the one I was mentioning earlier, including, it's quite an interesting area because there's both sort of understanding the science of it, but also there's ethical implications particularly around sharing information and then who has access to it. And we try to kind of help students understand the complexity of the world of DNA, that it both enables all of these amazing new connections to be found and discovered, but it's often to some extent controlled by for-profit companies who have a commercial imperative. So we try to help kind of step you through both the pros and the cons of going into that aspect of genealogical research.
Great. Anthony's popped through a question here that Anthony's done some study through SAG, and they know people have done also the UTAS diploma as well as that. And what would the main benefits be of doing the diploma as well as courses through SAG as well?
Well, SAG, of course, is the New South Wales-based Society of Australian Genealogists. So that's the major kind of community of family historians that you'd be accessing would be a New South Wales-based society. And I know there's people in the audience from the Genealogical Society of Victoria as well, which is obviously a Victorian-based organisation. So our organisation is Australia-wide and includes teachers and students from all over Australia. But my sense, I haven't completed the SAG courses myself, but my sense from meeting with people at SAG is they have a bit more of a focus on independent research. It's almost a little bit like what we would consider an honours project at the University of Tasmania, whereas our subject is more the nuts and bolts of stepping you through all of the aspects of family history research. So it's broader, it's probably more kind of hands-on and tool-based, and it doesn't assume any prior knowledge, as I was saying earlier. But both, you know, fabulous options, and we have a really strong partnership with SAG as well.
Great, thank you for that. Sorry, Neville.
Do you want to jump in, Neville?
Well, I'm doing the SAG course at the moment, so I've just done the exam. So the great difference is, yes, it's really independent learning. You're just given a topic area and an outline of what you've got to go and research. So you're researching. You're independently learning as opposed to handling lectures and reading guides. So that's a big difference. The other difference, I suppose, is bragging rights, and that the SAG things aren't academically. You don't have an academic accreditation, but it's. And to undertake, because it's independent learning, it is in fact a step up in difficulty in what you're doing at the diploma course.
Great, thanks for that, Neville. Elaine's just popped through more clarity on doing the single unit in regards to the conversation we just had. Just to mention, Elaine, yes, you can do one unit at a time through the undergraduate certificate. What we were mentioning before, if you wanted to do just one single unit and that was it, that's what we were talking about in that space. So yeah, if you want to do one unit at a time through the undergrad certificate or diploma, you definitely can do that as well. You can do it your own sort of self-pace in that way. Looking at the questions we got here, we do have a question around scholarships that are available and who can apply. Carla, did you want to touch broadly on that one?
Sure. So there's 2 scholarships available at the moment that we have in partnership with genealogical societies. So depending on where you are in Australia and who you might be a member of. So we have a scholarship with SAG, the Society of Australian Genealogists, and so that's available to SAG members to apply for, and it's to start in term 1 of each year. But starting last year, we've started an exciting new partnership with the Genealogical Society of Victoria, and that is for students starting in term 3, so coming up. Oh, sorry, I'm getting that around the wrong way. The SAG one starts in term 3, the GSV one starts in term 1. And so if you're Victorian based and you're a GSV member, that's going to be opening soon. That scholarship process is going to open on the 31st of August and close on the 31st of October for people to be notified in November and start in term 1. And it's a pretty easy application process. It's through our online UTAS scholarships portal. So it's not open yet. It opens at the end of August. And we basically ask for a 2-page CV and for you to answer a couple of short questions. So I think they're 350 words from memory about your family history, and then that's assessed. So for the scholarship winner each year, they get the full the fees for the full diploma waived, so you don't pay anything to study the full diploma. So if you're already a member of SAG or GSV, it's well worth the very small amount of time that it would take to apply. because, you know, it's pretty great to have your whole diploma for free.
Great, thanks for that, Carla. We've got 4 more questions here that are all loosely sort of related. So we've got Wendy that's looking to see if this course would be helpful to research British within India. Another person, Deborah, is looking if we've got access to databases for Australian Aboriginal records, and seeing if there's ways you can do maritime history. And then we've also got Jeannie as well, who's looking to do things around their Asian ancestry as well. Just seeing if that's possible through the diploma or certificate.
Lots of great questions there. So with the questions around the British in India and studying Chinese ancestry, the subject migrant families talks a bit about families in Australia who have come from other places, including China. So our course director, Kate Bagnall, is an expert in Chinese Australian history. So that's her sort of area of specialty, and she's fluent in reading in Mandarin and Cantonese. But there's only so much we can teach students about accessing archives and sources in other languages unless you can read and write in those languages. So our courses are more focused towards English speaking archives because they're accessible to all students potentially. In terms of people with Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander ancestry, we don't have a subject that focuses on that specifically, but we have a number of students who are researching their own Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander ancestry, including, as many of you would be aware, often really difficult stories of child removal, which really complicates family lines and poses special challenges and sensitivities and difficulties in accessing that history. So yes, that's absolutely something you can study, but it's also something that has to be taught with a great deal of sensitivity because it is one of the most challenging aspects of our shared Australian history, I would say.
Great, thanks for tackling all those ones there. And then we've got one last question here, which might be great for you, Neville, to answer. For someone that's looking to get into the course and feeling a little bit overwhelmed by studying online and feeling a bit out of depth, what can you say is available in terms of resources for someone in that space? And also, Carla, to follow on for what the lecturers can offer in terms of assistance as well.
Well, I think the beauty of the UTAS course is that almost every resource you need is provided to you. Sure, I had those same feelings, but once you, and possibly the most difficult thing about the whole thing is just getting used to the computer system that operates in UTAS. But once you're through that little bit and you're connected with your unit outline and your lecturer, it's free and easy and very, very easy to follow. And because you're studying at home privately, you know, but there is, as Carla's been saying, there is interaction opportunities available. I found it very comfortable, very comfortable. Now, you know, I was well and truly a mature age student, so I faced those fears, and they were allayed very quickly from the manner in which the course was presented.
Yeah, I'm glad you found that, Neville. And I will say, I'm trying to think of the exact statistics. I think it's 89% of our students are over 60. So I don't know if you're familiar with the term digital native, but that means someone who was born in the era of the internet, who's like my children, who's grown up with email and Google and everything else, and it just comes naturally to them. They're not our typical student, and that's not how we pitch the course. We try not to assume, you know, a really high degree of technological capability. We try as much as we can to step students through it and to be available for assistance as well.
Great, thank you both. And then we've got one last question here. Carla, do you recommend doing writing family history first or last within the degree?
Oh, tricky one, Stephen. So as I said earlier, where possible, I would always start with Introduction to Family History. And I've had students who've had to start in term 2 or term 4, so they couldn't start with intro, and they've often said when they've done intro, they said, oh, I wish I did this first. Like it really lays all of the foundations for everything. So if you're only studying one subject at a time, I'd definitely start with intro. Writing family, but having said that, writing family history doesn't have a huge amount of assumed knowledge in it. So if, for example, if you were starting in term 3 and you had the time, you could certainly study Introduction to Family History and writing family history at the same time. And bearing in mind, if you look at the link that I've put in the chat, you can find a bit more information about all of our subjects on the website. And there's 2 writing subjects. There's writing family history and writing the family saga. And they're both about the craft of writing, but also reading the way that other people have written their family histories and kind of critiquing the different options available to you. There's more than one subject that kind of offers you the opportunity to explore those skills, I suppose, as well.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. That looks like it's it for questions for us, but I might give Neville and also Carla just one last chance if there's any sort of further advice or things you want to add to anyone that is looking to study this in the future. Neville, I'll start with you.
Well, I think the point is that as mature age students and being brought up in the non-digital age, yes, some aspects are slightly challenging, but it's not a barrier in any way to both learning and enjoying the course. And it really is from that aspect, an easy thing to handle. There is so much help available, and it's so well organised that you shouldn't have no fears. In answer to the question about what you should do first, obviously, Introduction to Family History first. Leave your writing to the last because you learn a lot. And what's more importantly, what you will learn about is more about your research skills, which can only be of great benefit to the end subject of whether you're doing family saga, which unfortunately I was not able to do by the way of the timing of the course structure at the time. But writing a family history would have been nowhere near, I would not have achieved as much, I think, if I tried to write that early. Learning families at war was fascinating. And because my family history, writing family history was war related, the course had led me down a much more informed path to do that final effort.
Thanks, Neville. Look, we're always here to help, I guess, is the message that I'd leave you with. Whether it's help with enrolment and figuring out those processes, Ben's probably going to follow up with some information for you about where you can go to access that. But we have teams of people to help you with enrolment. And then if you choose to study and you're in the course, we really do try very hard to be approachable and sympathetic and flexible as teachers. We know that many of our students haven't done a lot of tertiary study before. Many of them are not digital natives, as I said earlier, and have many competing things in their lives. So we try to accommodate all of that. So if you're not sure, get in touch and we'll try to help you find out a little bit more and explore our website and see what you can find there as well.
Great. Thank you so much, both. So yeah, as mentioned, I will send through an email, as mentioned to a few people, around the recording. So early next week, you'll receive the recording and also send through some key information around both the course options as well as our application dates and how to apply and how to best get in contact with us if you do need that support around application and the enrolment process as well. Because it can be a bit tricky if you've never done it before or if it's been a while since you've studied as well. But that will come through early next week. And so you can revisit all the content information through the webinar recording. But between that time, if you do have any burning questions, please reach out to to us directly. You do have my email as well through your signing up of the registration. Otherwise, you can just call through at any time during the day, Monday to Friday, and you'll get one of our team members as well. Just want to say a big thank you to everyone that joined today. We had a great audience, which was good to see. And a huge thank you to Carla and Neville. It's always great to get that in-depth content side and also that student perspective to understand what it looks like to study. So thank you everyone for joining today, and please get in contact if you have any further questions. Thanks so much, everyone.